Welcome to the Common Auto channel. In this video, we're going to talk about the most common electrical problems that you may encounter with Chevy Silverados from 2003 to 2006. One of the most common electrical issues with these vehicles is a faulty ignition switch. Symptoms of a bad ignition switch can include a no-start condition or intermittent starting problems. In some cases, the engine may start but then stall out immediately. If you experience any of these issues, it's important to have the ignition switch checked and replaced if necessary. Here are some common solutions that can fix a faulty ignition switch. 1. Replace the ignition switch. If your Silverado's ignition switch is faulty, the best solution is to replace it. A professional mechanic can diagnose the issue and replace the switch with a new one to ensure proper operation. 2. Check the wiring. Faulty wiring can also cause ignition switch problems. If the switch itself is fine, a mechanic can check the wiring for any damage or breaks and repair or replace it as needed. 3. Install a relay. In some cases, installing a relay between the ignition switch and the starter can help to prevent ignition switch problems from occurring. The relay acts as a buffer, protecting the switch from excessive current and wear. 4. Clean the contacts. Over time, the contacts in the ignition switch can become dirty or corroded, causing connection issues. A professional mechanic can clean the contacts to ensure proper operation. 5. Use a temporary fix. If you need a quick solution, you can try using a temporary fix like inserting a piece of wire into the ignition switch to bypass the faulty connections. However, this is not a permanent solution and should only be used as a temporary fix until the switch can be replaced. Another common electrical problem is a malfunctioning fuel pump. Symptoms of a failing fuel pump can include engine sputtering or stalling, difficulty starting, and a decrease in fuel efficiency. If you suspect that your fuel pump may be failing, it's important to have it checked and replaced if necessary. Possible solutions. 1. Replace the fuel pump. The most effective solution for a malfunctioning fuel pump is to have it replaced with a new one. A professional mechanic can diagnose the issue and replace the pump to ensure proper operation. 2. Check the fuel filter. A clogged or dirty fuel filter can also cause issues with the fuel pump. If the fuel pump is not receiving enough fuel pressure, it can cause it to fail. A mechanic can check the fuel filter for any issues and replace it if necessary. 3. Inspect the fuel lines. If the fuel lines are damaged or corroded, they can also cause issues with the fuel pump. A mechanic can inspect the fuel lines for any damage and replace them if necessary. 4. Check the electrical connections. A malfunctioning fuel pump can also be caused by faulty electrical connections. A mechanic can check the electrical connections for any damage or corrosion and repair or replace them as needed. 5. Clean the fuel injectors. Over time, fuel injectors can become clogged with debris or contaminants, which can cause fuel pump problems. A mechanic can clean the fuel injectors to ensure proper fuel flow to the engine. A third common issue with these vehicles is a failing alternator. A faulty alternator can cause a range of problems, including dimming headlights, slow or no crank, and eventually a dead battery. If you notice any of these symptoms, it's important to have your alternator checked and replaced if necessary. Possible solutions. 1. Replace the alternator. If your Silverado's alternator is failing, the best solution is to replace it. A professional mechanic can diagnose the issue and replace the alternator with a new one to ensure proper operation. 2. Check the belts and pulleys. A loose or damaged belt or pulley can cause the alternator to fail. A mechanic can check the belts and pulleys for any issues and tighten or replace them as needed. 3. Check the battery. A failing battery can also put extra strain on the alternator, causing it to fail. A mechanic can check the battery for any issues and replace it if necessary. 4. Check the wiring. Faulty wiring can also cause alternator problems. If the alternator itself is fine, a mechanic can check the wiring for any damage or breaks and repair or replace it as needed. 5. Use a temporary fix. If you need a quick solution, you can try using a temporary fix like a jump start or a battery charger to keep the battery charged until you can replace the alternator. However, this is not a permanent solution and should only be used as a temporary fix until the alternator can be replaced. A fourth common issue is a faulty battery. Symptoms of a bad battery can include slow cranking, dimming headlights, and difficulty starting the engine. It's important to have your battery checked regularly and replaced if necessary to avoid any starting or charging issues. Possible solutions. 1. Replace the battery. If your Silverado's battery is faulty, the best solution is to replace it. A professional mechanic can diagnose the issue and replace the battery with a new one to ensure proper operation. 2. Check the alternator. A failing alternator can also cause battery problems. A mechanic can check the alternator for any issues and replace it if necessary. 3. Check the battery connections. Loose or corroded battery connections can cause battery problems. A mechanic can check the battery connections for any issues and tighten or clean them as needed. 4. Check the battery cables. Damaged or corroded battery cables can also cause battery problems. A mechanic can check the battery cables for any damage and replace them if necessary. 5. Check the battery temperature. Extreme temperatures, both hot and cold, can affect the performance of the battery. If the battery is not performing well, a mechanic can check the battery temperature and recommend a solution, such as installing a battery blanket or relocating the battery to a cooler location. Finally, a fifth common electrical problem with these vehicles is a malfunctioning power window regulator. Symptoms of a failing power window regulator can include slow or erratic movement of the window, grinding or clicking noises, or complete failure of the window to move. If you experience any of these symptoms, it's important to have your power window regulator checked and replaced if necessary. Possible solutions. 1. Replace the window regulator. If your Silverado's power window regulator is malfunctioning, the best solution is to replace it with a new one. A professional mechanic can diagnose the issue and replace the window regulator to ensure proper operation. 2. Lubricate the window mechanism. Sometimes, a lack of lubrication can cause the power window regulator to malfunction. A mechanic can lubricate the window mechanism to ensure smooth operation. 3. Check the window switch. A faulty window switch can also cause power window regulator problems. A mechanic can check the switch for any issues and replace it if necessary. 4. Check the window motor. If the power window regulator is not the issue, the motor may be the problem. A mechanic can check the motor for any issues and replace it if necessary. 5. Check the window tracks. Over time, the window tracks can become dirty or damaged, causing the window to malfunction. A mechanic can clean or repair the tracks as needed. In summary, the 5 most common electrical problems that you may encounter with Chevy Silverados from 2003 to 2006 are a faulty ignition switch, a malfunctioning fuel pump, a failing alternator, a faulty battery, and a malfunctioning power window regulator. If you experience any of these issues, be sure to have your vehicle checked by a professional mechanic to ensure proper diagnosis and repair. Thank you for watching.